Yeah, that's fine then. I do want to record it. Okay, so is just so that I know the audience, like, where is everyone right now? Is everyone a student and which program? Just very quickly, if you can go through that. It's a small group. Yeah. Um, how many of you are in the communication data science program? Anyone from here? CDS? The communication program? Okay. Uh, DSM? Great. Any other program I missed? Huh? Communication management. Okay, awesome. Any other? Okay, great. So we have a little bit of a mix here. So what I will do is, I'm Professor Shub. I'm joining full time starting this year. I was an adjunct. I have a long industry career. I will talk about that a little bit. But my Dr. Ben reached out to me. He wanted me to have a talk with students to talk about the careers in AI because that's a growing field right now. A lot of people are interested in that. So before we go to the careers in I thought I'll start my presentation by talking about me. And then I thought that's not appropriate. I should talk about the person who created AI, the godfather of AI. And that's Jeffrey Hinton. And he uh, and Jeffrey Hinton is pretty well regarded, pretty well known. If you are following the news, you will know he just won a Nobel Prize, and his story is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. How he started and what he created, and knowing his story is very helpful when you think of a journey of a AI, and then when you think of a careers in AI too. Um, so Oh, okay, great. That's helpful. Um, so I will start with a small video. It's like 7 8 minute long. You'll get engaged to. It's an interesting video about him, his life. It's from a few years back, very relevant still, but a lot has changed since then. So we'll talk about that after he's done. And I do want to say is, um, let's make it interactive. Don't think, hey, my presentation has to finish for questions to start. If you have a question, raise your hand. Let's make it interactive, especially given it's a small group. I want to make sure it's beneficial and useful to you. But I'll have to take it out from a slideshow for a second. That's fine. So let. Yeah, that will be great. 1 second, and I'm trying to figure it out. Um, okay, this is. So let's start with this. And how do I raise the volume? Okay. Can you guys can you guys hear? Okay. On the back, can we raise the video volume a little bit? It's not throwing the volume in the main. Maybe I'll try to do this. I have an idea.
I hate standing. I'd much rather sit down, but if I sit down, I have a visitor comes in.
Okay. Well, at least now standing desks are fashionable. And
Yeah, but I was ahead. I was standing. I was standing when they weren't fashionable.
since he can't sit in a car or on a bus, Hinton walks everywhere. The walk says a lot about Hinton and his resolve. For nearly 40 years, Hinton has been trying to get computers to learn like people do. A quest almost everyone thought was crazy, or at least hopeless. Right up until the moment it revolutionized the field.
Google thinks this is the future of the company. Amazon thinks it's the future of the company. Apple thinks it's the future of the company. My own department thinks this stuff's probably nonsense and we shouldn't be doing any more of it. So I talked everybody into it except my own department.
You obviously grew up in the UK, and you had this very prestigious family full of famous mathematicians and economists. And I was curious what it was like for you.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure. I think by the time I was about 7, I realized I was going to have to get a PhD.
Did you rebel against that, or you went along
I
with it?
dropped out every so often.
Yeah.
I became a carpenter for a while.
Chef Hinton, pretty early on, became obsessed with this idea of figuring out how the mind works. He started off getting into physiology, the anatomy of how the brain works. Then he got into psychology. And then finally, he settled on more of a computer science approach to modeling the brain and got into artificial intelligence.
My feeling is, if you want to understand a really complicated device, like a brain, you should build one. I mean, you could look at cars and you could think you could understand cars. When you try and build a car, you suddenly discover that there's this stuff that has to go under the hood, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah. As Jeff was starting to think about these ideas, he got inspired by some AI researchers across the pond. Specifically this guy, Frank Rosenblatt.
Rosenblatt, in the late 1950s, developed what he called a perceptron, and it was a neural network, a computing system that would mimic the brain.
The basic idea is a collection of small units called neurons. These are little computing units, but they're actually modeled on the way that the human brain does its computation. They take incoming data like we do from our senses, and they actually learn, so the neural net can learn to make decisions over time.
Rosenblatt's hope was that you could feed a neural network a bunch of data, like pictures of men and women, and it would eventually learn how to tell them apart, just like humans do. There was just one problem. It didn't work very well.
Rosenblatt, his neural network was a single layer of neurons, and it was limited in what it could do, extremely limited. And a colleague of his wrote a book in the late 60s that showed these limitations. And it kind of put the whole area of research into a deep freeze for a good 10 years. No one wanted to work in this area. They were sure it would never work.
Well, almost no one.
It was just obvious to me that it was the right way to go. The brain's a big neural network, and so it has to be that stuff like this can work because it works in our brains. There's just never any doubt about that.
And what do you think it was inside of you that kept you wanting to pursue this when everyone else was giving up, just that you thought it was the right direction to go?
No, that everyone else was wrong.
Okay. Hinton decides he's got an idea of how these neural nets might work, and he's going to pursue it no matter what. For a little while, he's bouncing around research institutions in the US. He kind of gets fed up that most of them are funded by the Defense Department, and he starts looking for somewhere else he can go.
I didn't want to take Defense Department money. I sort of didn't like the idea that this stuff was going to be used for purposes that I didn't think were good.
He suddenly hears that Canada might be interested in funding artificial intelligence.
And that was very attractive, that I could go off to this civilized town and just get on with it. So I came to the University of Toronto. And then in the mid-80s, we discovered how to make more complicated neural nets so they could solve those problems that the simple ones couldn't solve.
He and his collaborators developed a multi-layered neural network, a deep neural network. And this started to work in a lot of ways. Using a neural network, a guy named Dean Pomerleau built a self-driving car in the late 80s, and it drove on public roads. Jan LeCun in the 90s built a system that could recognize handwritten digits, and this ended up being used commercially. But again, they hit a ceiling.
It didn't work quite well enough because we didn't have enough data, we didn't have enough compute power. And people in AI and computer science have decided neural networks was wishful thinking, basically. So it was a big disappointment.
Through the 90s, into the 2000s, Jeff was one of only a handful of people on the planet who were still pursuing this technology. He would show up at academic conferences and be banished to the back rooms. He was treated as really like a pariah.
Was there like a time when you thought this just wasn't going to work and you did have some self-doubt?
I mean, there were many times when I thought, I'm not going to make this work.
But Jeff was consumed by this and couldn't stop. He just kept pursuing the idea that computers could learn until about 2006, when the world catches up to Hinton's ideas.
Computers were now a lot faster. And now it's behaving like I thought it would behave in the mid-80s. It's solving everything.
The arrival of super-fast chips and the massive amounts of data produced on the internet gave Hinton's algorithms a magical boost. Suddenly, computers could identify what was in an image. Then, they could recognize speech and translate from one language to another. By 2012, words like neural nets and machine learning were popping up on the front page of the New York Times.
You have to go all these years, and then all of a sudden, in this span of a few months, it just takes off. Did it finally feel like, aha, the world has finally come to my vision?
It was sort of a relief that people finally came to their senses.
For Hinton, this was clearly a redemptive moment after decades of toil. And for Canada, it meant something even bigger. Hinton and his students put the country on the map as an AI superpower. Something no one and no computer could ever have predicted. Thanks for watching.
All right. So we heard a little bit about Jeff Hinton. He is considered godfather of AI. So we heard about Jeff Hinton. He's considered godfather of AI, and for many reasons, right? One is he invented what is the modern AI is, and we'll talk a little bit about what modern AI is. But he invented it through his persistence. He started these ideas in 1970s and 1980s. It didn't catch up until the computational power catched up. And it's around 2006 time frame when things catched up. That's around the time I wrote my first research paper too, in 2005 or so, right? Those are the times when things picked up and suddenly he became a godfather of AI. Things still there were still a lot to go on before AI became a household name from 2006 to 24. It started from machine learning to inventions of CNN, convolutional networks that will identify images, to current state of the large language models, right? So there's some lessons to be learned from this. First is, of course, US lost him. He was first part of Carnegie Mellon, but later he left to Canada. He came back to Google, to work for Google in San Francisco. And if you're following him, he has left Google as well, because right now he's pursuing a better good. He thinks the word he created, the AI he created, can have ethical implications, can have consequences for humanity. So he wants to go and solve those as well. And he just received a Nobel Prize. So he received a Nobel Prize on it's the category. There's no category for AI right now. And computer science. He won a Nobel Prize under the category of physics, and that's a remarkable moment in the history of AI. that now the person who invented AI is also a Nobel Prize winner. So I'll start there from there, and then let's keep on going on other pieces so that we can talk about the careers in AI. So before that, I will just give a quick intro. How do I make it full screen slideshow? Yeah. So I'll give a quick intro about me. I'm currently professor at USC. Next semester, I'm teaching a couple of courses. One, I have created a new course on the AI, foundations of AI, which will be a combination of case study methods as well as project work. And then there is a product management course I teach. I'm teaching that. Uh, Before this, I had a long industry career, around 20 years, 2 decades of experience in product management and AI field overall, uh, several patents. I'm currently an author. So I recently wrote a book. We'll talk a little bit about that today. This is a book. This is recently published. Just I thought it will help the community because we are trying to build AI products, and by AI products I mean anything you imagine and use today from AI perspective. The Chat GPT, a machine learning product like a recommendation engine that is used at Amazon, Netflix recommendations that you see and interact with every day. How do you create that in companies and enterprise at scale? That knowledge is still elusive. So I wrote a book on that. And I'm coach, a mentor, recovering researcher, and all that. So this is my quick journey, what I've done in past. Now book author, I've worked right now, just before coming to USC in my final chapter in industry, I worked at US Bank. I was senior vice president of product management in AI and platforms there. So now, and this is the book I have written, just a little bit about what the book is. I'll come to that and relate it to a talk a little bit so that you'll know. This book is talking about how to think about AI and building AI products in a systematic way. And anyone who wants to understand how things like Chat GPT are built from ground up, how do you create it, not just use it, how do you create it, you should read the book. You should understand what are the elements that goes in it. I call it 9 steps process, and that's what the book is talking about. So these are those 9 steps, and the book will speak about, hey, how do you create an AI product that is impactful, that it makes an impact to the society, to the business, it makes economical sense. How do you think of that? What is the framework around it? How do you learn the AI use cases? And especially in today's world, as you are students, as you're trying to learn about AI, one of the fascinating developments today that has occurred in the AI field is now to learn AI, you don't have to be that technical either. In earlier words, to learn AI, you have to be really technical. You have to be some kind of a PhD in the data science field to understand it. Today, the, the career landscape is shifting very rapidly. And to learn AI, you can learn it with the tools that are available, and we'll talk about a couple of those. One that came out very recently, through actually understand how AI works at a very deep level. And what will happen is, as industry evolves, is similar to how you use search engines, people will use AI in their day-to-day world. And people in their regular careers, all the jobs will shift for people who can understand it and people who can use it. And because and I have been fortunate to have a both computer science background as well as like a business background. And I will tell you, and right now I'm professor for communications. I'll tell you, AI is at a sweet spot today where 2 kinds of people will thrive. One are people who are obviously the people who are very technical, research oriented, who can understand AI. And second is a kind of people who can communicate. And that's where your program, the communication program, is really, if we can pick that up, can really, really benefit from this revolution. Think about all the people right now in industry who are sitting and doing their jobs on a daily basis, right? And they are not realizing how AI is going to shift the landscape, and or they don't have time or luxury of time to go and learn it. How lucky we are to be a student at this point of the inflection of AI. That we can go and learn those in different ways, understand and redefine the careers, because next 15 to 20 years of the career is going to be lot about AI. Is going to about learning AI, is going to about using AI in different ways. Uh, why is this? Okay, I think I will have to put in a slideshow, a different kind of slideshow. 1 second. So this is fine. Okay, so so that's a little bit about the careers, right? Now, there's and lot changes when you think about AI from the traditional software capabilities to the AI capabilities. There's a lot changing, and the book talks about a bunch of those things. I'll encourage you to read. I'll encourage you to give me feedback and thoughts. Really, really welcome, so that the work can keep on going on in this area. Okay, now let's chat a little bit about one aspect, and as a motivation, given we are in AI talk, there's a piece of this deck, this part I've created with the help of AI. So let me show you that. You might find it interesting. And so I don't know how many of you know this tool. So similar to the Chat GPT, and this is another tool, Cloudy. So there are many companies out there that are building these AI models. They're called large language models, and on top of it, they're building applications through which people interact. The company is called Anthropic, and they have this tool, Cloudy, similar to Microsoft Copilot, similar to Perplexity. So I created this, just a PPT, this part of it through that. I just gave it a little bit of a prompt and guidance, and it created all this for me. Okay, so my work was reduced for, like, I at least saved 5 hours of this research and work. Okay, so shaping the future of work. So the way I think about AI careers in future is, lot of people used to think and still think that people who will have careers in the AI are the only one who have some mathematics background, who will have some data science background. And that is not true. There was a career in AI for people who understand AI and can use it in different ways in different contexts. Okay, so for example, there's an AI marketing executive role, or AI leader role, AI marketing analyst role, that will be available and are available today. What that means is, you have to understand how AI works, how to use AI for the marketing purposes. If you can master those tools and techniques, you'll have a great career without being a deep mathematician. We'll talk about some fundamentals you should learn and know over a period of time, how AI is built, but that's an amazing career to have. Another is, you can obviously become a customer service agent. That's lot of people will go with, where AI will assist a customer service agent. You will be much more efficient, much more effective in your jobs. Um, And then third is, for example, AI product manager. The book that I have written talks a lot about AI product manager. Product management is a very lucrative career in industry today, where you envision and think of how to create products. So there's a evolving field there on AI product management. Of course, AI research scientists, that will keep on being a very important role, so that you create the foundation, create the capabilities associated with it. Machine learning engineer is related to the AI researcher. A researcher researches, engineers build those and writes the code ultimately. And then someone who understands the ethics, the implications, can argue, create policies associated with it. Those are some. And these are just some of the roles. If you think of a companies that are out there, any company, any large tech companies, any financial organizations, they need people who can understand it, understand how it operates, understand what impact it makes, and then understand how it is built. There are roles and functions associated with each pieces of that life cycle. And you should think about how do you position yourself in industry in that kind of field if you are really want a career in this area. Okay. Um, Now, let's go to the second one. So this talks about the market growth. It is growing very, very rapidly. This is a market size. We are in 25, and it is essentially going to double in next 2 years, right? 24, and it's going to triple in next 3 years or so, right? We are talking about a massive shift, and unlike lot of cycles which were hype cycles, AI cycle is not a hype. The value has been shown multiple times, and companies are investing very, very significant amount in this area across the globe. Not only in US, but across the globe. Microsoft recently invested $10 billion in Malaysia. It was a massive investment. And those investments are happening across the globe. Different companies are investing because they see such a massive potential of what AI can do, how it can transform industry, or how it can transform the jobs, right? Um, so let's keep on going. Key responsibilities. It just talks a little bit about um, key roles and skills required if you want a job in this area. How do you develop? You are in school right now, you're trying to learn what kind of skills you have to learn. So you develop AI driven marketing strategy, you leverage AI tools for market analysis and prediction, you have a strong understanding of AI and machine learning in marketing, right? And the salary ranges are very, very attractive right now as well, right? The starting salaries are generally much higher for people in the AI role versus regular roles. So from the compensation standpoint, it makes a lot of sense also for the people. And this is AI product manager. Now these are all different kind of roles based on the role, the knowledge or the responsibilities are going to shift. It's a little bit more about how to create AI as a product manager versus market AI or use AI for marketing purposes. And similarly, there's a research scientist, which is more obvious. Conduct advanced research, like what Jeffrey Hinton will do, or someone who will work under him will do. That's kind of a research scientist. And to be fair, it does says PhD in computer science. It's not required anymore. You can be a research scientist just by being a master's. Even a lot of bachelors can be, because the knowledge is so democratized right now. So now there's essential tools and technologies, and we'll talk a little bit about that in our remaining pieces of the talk. But these are some tools and tech. So I'll go back to the slide deck now, just so that we can keep on going. And these are the salary ranges before, and these might be some motivators here. Hey, this is the current average salary projected in 5 years. They're expected to keep on growing. All these salaries, the importance of this role, the impact it will make in the organization, they will keep on growing. So there's a growing demand for this role in long run. Okay. All right. Any questions before I keep on moving? Any questions, thoughts?
So, hi, my name is Jordan. Quick question. When we're looking at companies that are investing in AI, how do you identify in my interviews, there have been like kind of poser companies that say, oh, we're AI because it's kind of an investment play. How do you kind of suss out where they're really committed for the long term?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, right? There are a lot of companies and people who will talk about either they're investing in AI or they're working in AI, and some are, hey, I just want an investment, so I'll talk about it. You have to look a little bit under the hood, understand and ask right questions, and see what problem are they trying to solve, and whether it is a problem that is supposed to be solved through AI, because that problem is something that can be solved by AI in a better fashion versus a human. And then you ask question and try to understand under the hood what kind of skill sets they have to build it out, what is their vision, what is their roadmap, and very quickly that conversation will evolve where you can understand what they're doing, whether it's a truly an AI company or they're just making it up. um, there there used to be, before this came in, where AI became hot. AI was still pretty hot just a few years back as well, where the companies will come and they will have this rule based systems, we'll call it. Essentially, it's like a programmed, hard coded programmings, and they will call themselves AI because they have some rules, and some like graphs through which the answers can be given. And after you chat with them a little bit deeper, you understand they are not truly an AI company, right? Um, does that help? Okay. Any other question? Any other thought? Okay, great. I'll keep on moving. uh, so now these are some key trends it talks about, uh, and what you will see is there's a growing demand of AI specialists in non-tech industries as well as tech industries, right? So, um, uh, and the emphasis will keep on changing, keep on improving. If you want your career in the AI field, and I will say those are the careers that will ultimately be very, very successful and sustainable. You have to get into and understand some fundamentals. So let me show you one more tool before I keep on going with the other pieces of the talk. Okay. So has anyone heard of this tool called as Notebook LM? Has anyone heard of this? Yes. What does it do?
It is a new AI product produced by Google, and it can transfer any. I think it's a kind of automatic notebook, and you can upload your notes, upload your any text into it, and it can help you to collect them, and it can even transfer the text to podcast to make it an audio. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the fascinating part. So, what this tool does is you can actually upload very intensive documents, and then it will convert you it in a conversation like two humans are talking. I tested it out by uploading two things: my 330-page book, intense, technical, business oriented book. It converted into a beautiful podcast, better than my talk right now. I want to show you some parts of it. And then what I did is I also uploaded a research paper we'll talk about that changed the world of AI. Attention is all you need. Actually, that research paper came out by Google researchers. Two of them were PhDs at USC, did their PhD at USC, that transformed the AI world, whole of the chat GPT revolution. I uploaded that paper. It converted into a really interesting talk, right? And now, and this is why I think understanding AI and the foundation and details behind it is not going to be hard anymore. Anyone can understand it, and the game will become who's invested in trying to learn and understand, and then who is able to communicate. Okay, so let's go through a couple of these. So I'll go to trial notebook LM. So these are like, see, I created some of these. I uploaded one of my presentations, it's created a podcast. Let me show you first one for a book, because I created multiple versions of it. So let's see, which one should I do? I created one yesterday. Let me see, is this the one? No. Okay, so not this one. One second. Yeah, so this is a little guided one. What I mean is, let me load it. Okay, so they added another feature where you can guide and say, hey, make it in a talk that is a little easy for people to understand and whatnot. So let's see what it does.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing something really fascinating today, taking a deep dive into AI product creation.
It's a hot topic for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, we have some great insights to share based on Shub A's.
And this is a 330-page book. It converted into a podcast.
AI and generative AI product creation, 9 Steps to Epiphany.
Great book.
Yeah, it's packed with information, and we're going to try to pull out some of the most valuable pieces, especially for those wanting to go from, just having a basic understanding of AI to really being informed and thinking about innovation in that space.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about Shub A's perspective, at least in the excerpts that we're looking at, is it's less about the actual coding and more about those big picture decisions.
Yeah.
Why are you building this? What problem are you solving? How does this fit into the bigger picture of your business and the world?
It's funny you say that, because one of the first things that really stuck out to me was that emphasis on AI shouldn't be about just creating technology for technology's sake.
Totally, yeah.
It has to solve a tangible business problem,
Absolutely. And I think a good example of that, he talks about this company that was trying to create an AI-powered fashion line.
Okay.
And they were so focused on the AI designing the clothes.
Right, the novelty of it.
But they forgot to ask, who is this for?
Yeah.
What problem are we solving?
What does the market actually want? Yeah.
Exactly. And it was a total flop.
It happens.
It does. It does. And it's a good reminder that AI needs to be useful. If not enough to just be cool, it has to actually solve a problem.
It's about finding the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Not just AI is hot right now, let's just throw it at everything.
And sometimes the right tool is traditional AI. Sometimes it's generative AI.
So that's an important distinction, right?
Huge, huge difference.
Can you kind of break down those two for us?
Yeah, so think of traditional AI it's the detective, right?
Okay.
It looks at past data, it analyzes it to make predictions.
Like fraud detection.
Fraud detection. Those recommendation engines that are oh, you bought this, you might like this.
Right, it's learning from what's already happened.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Generative AI, on the other hand, that's like our artist.
Okay.
It takes what it's learned and creates something totally new.
Whoa.
So think AI designing a chair just for you based on your style preferences.
Wow.
Or writing you a custom jingle for your new product.
So that's a huge difference in what it's actually doing. What about computationally? Are they using the same kind of horsepower?
That's a great question. And it varies, but typically traditional AI, you can run that on your laptop.
Yeah.
Generative AI usually needs a bit more power, like those beefy gaming computers,
And see, so it is creating a talk in a non-technical fashion, right? And there were multiple versions of it. I was playing around with those. Let me show you just another version. It might be another interesting. So this is a 14-minute and whatnot. And I created multiple versions of this one. And then I'll show you one research paper. Attention is all you need. And then I'll show you after I uploaded what it did to it. So let's see this. And then I'll go in the middle a little bit.
Ready to dive into some serious AI strategy.
Let's do it.
We're breaking down Shub A's AI and generative AI product creation, a book that's got everyone talking.
With good reason. It's packed with insights from Shub's incredible career.
Seriously, the guy's worked everywhere. Silicon Valley, big companies, even teaching at USC.
And get this, he shouts out his students in the acknowledgments. Talk
Yeah.
about learning from the next generation. Solution, you got to consider the bigger picture.
You mean like, who else is affected?
Exactly.
That's good.
But then there's unsupervised learning, which is more like letting the AI loose in a playground.
So, no more dog training. What does that look like?
It's about letting the AI find patterns and relationships in the data on its own without explicit instructions.
Interesting. So, it's more about discovery and exploration than following strict rules.
Exactly. And then you've got deep learning, which is like
the super-powered version of machine learning.
yeah, exactly. It's what powers those mind-blowing language models that can write poems and compose music.
Wow. Okay, so we've got all these different types of AI and machine learning. What about the actual tools? What are AI product managers using to build this stuff?
Shub talks a lot about platforms like TensorFlow, Keras, and PyTorch.
Those names sound intimidating, like something out of a sci-fi movie.
They kind of are, but Shub does a great job demystifying them. Like, he explains that TensorFlow is super versatile.
Versatile how?
It can be used for tons of different AI tasks. He calls it the Swiss Army knife of AI tools.
Handy. And what about Keras?
Keras is known for being really user-friendly, which is great for beginners.
So if you're just starting out with AI, Keras is a good place to dip your toes in.
Yeah. So the idea is, as you can see, hey, it can really take a very complex topics and convert into something that is digestible. Let me show you one more example so that you can understand. So there's a paper that I was talking about. Attention is all you need. And this paper is the one that revolutionized a lot of this, right? And these guys were researchers at Google, Ashish and Nikki, I believe. They were PhDs at USC. And I uploaded that paper right here. And let me open that. And then it converted that into something you can really read, understand. You can even prompt it and say, hey, can you explain it to me in a non-technical way? Something that you can relate to and understand. You can load. And then it will create a very similar podcast. The point is, of course, the AI is evolving in such a way that you can really understand the foundational concept in much more depth, which were earlier more inaccessible to people, or were accessible to people only who are able to read those complex, dense research papers, right? So, for example, only when you can read this and understand this and has patience and time to do this, you could understand. And now, things are becoming so much more accessible. Similarly, Andrew Ng, he's another very well-known personality in AI field. He's a professor at Stanford. He founded the deeplearning.ai, the company that teaches a lot about AI and machine learning. He's actually a founder for Coursera as well. And he talks about how everyone today in today's world can know how to code, right? Because there are tools available that can help you code. He had an example of a person who was actually a reporter, journalist and a reporter, and he started building applications by help of generative AI. So things will keep on becoming much more accessible as things go along. And that's one of the lessons or the takeaway for you all. Hey, today learning technical things is not hard because they can be translated very quickly into non-technical aspects. And then you can learn how to apply in your job and your world so that you can make a real difference. So let's see this one. I just want to...
All right, so we're diving into Attention is All You Need.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, even just the title.
It's a good one.
It's catchy, right? It sounds like, like a self-help book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a motivational poster you'd see
Yeah.
in an office or
Exactly.
yeah, something like that.
But this is a research paper and a pretty impactful one, I'm guessing, since we're talking about it.
Oh, yeah, this one's huge.
Yeah.
Hugely influential.
Okay.
And it's not just the title that's, attention grabbing.
Right.
This is some serious stuff from the Google Brain team.
Oh, it's Google Brain. Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be cutting edge.
Right.
They really revolutionized machine translation with this one.
And I'm guessing that's because they kind of threw out the old playbook and said, we're doing things differently.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
They basically said RNNs out here.
Okay.
We're going in a totally new direction.
So RNNs, recurrent neural networks, I'm familiar with them. But for those listening who maybe haven't encountered that term before,
Sure.
can you, I guess, just give a really quick, like, what is that? And why wasn't it working for something as complicated as, trying to get a machine to translate languages?
Okay, so imagine trying to understand a movie,
Okay.
but you can only watch it one frame at a time,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
It'd be pretty tough to follow the plot, right? You'd have to hold so much information in your head. And even then,
Right.
you'd probably miss a lot of the nuances, the connections between characters.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of what it was like for RNNs.
Yeah, so it is talking about, now it is coming into some technical details, but it is explaining in a very nice way. People who have understood little bit foundations of it will very quickly get it. We'll talk about some of this in the talk today, but just wanted to give a glimpse of what today these technologies can do for you. So before I dive a little bit into some technical details in the AI side, we'll cover some of those. But I want to answer the question, the mega question in the room, right? I did talk about there are a lot of opportunities in AI field, right? And then, but the big question that everyone asks me is, will AI take our jobs? And this is a very hotly debated topic, and and the way I think about that first is, before even answering that question, I answer something else. I usually say, hey, listen, this is the amount, I don't even know how to read that number. This is probably several of trillions, right? 7 trillion, 280 billion. That's kind of a number that it comes out. Is the amount of time that is wasted on mundane, repetitive tasks across the globe. What does it mean? Imagine the word when Google search engine, because a lot of you are much younger than me, so you can relate with Google search better than if I give you a Postman example. But imagine the word of Google search engine when Google search engine was not there and you had to do your school assignments. You had to do your school assignments, then your job, more than thinking, debating, discussing, and learning, can become finding a resource in the library and the book and hunting for it. And finding those pages which will have the content that you're looking for. Think about that. And to be fair, in early sites, early times of research, being good at navigating those literature was part of your job. That was required part of your job. As a researcher, you're a good researcher if you can navigate and find a lot of things apart from synthesizing information, creating it. Google search engine took that away from you. Said, now your job is to think. That is what humans are made for. To think, to create. And if I call that part of searching and trying to find that information that can be found by machine, my definition for that kind of job is the mundane job. That's a job a machine can simplify for humans. That is a type of a job, for example, right? That is still being wasted today. And because we are at the inflection point sometimes, we don't see that. How much of our work today can be much more fulfilling than it was, than what it is, right? Because we are involved in a lot of those mundane activities, right? The activities that are not that fruitful. So that's my first reaction to it when someone says, hey, will AI take our jobs? I said, yeah, I mean, will AI take our jobs? This part of the job, first of all, do you really want to do? Do you really want to do this part of the job? Or do you want to unshackle yourself and do jobs that humans are made for, right? Did some jobs get lost because Google search engine came? Did some jobs get transformed because emails came, right? Yes, absolutely. Those jobs got transformed, but many more jobs were created ultimately. and people will became much more efficient. The word became much more productive in some ways, and while there are some definitely some negative consequences too, so we have to be careful about those. But I'm going to talk in a more optimistic sound right now a little bit, right? And this is my definition and my thinking around it. I envision a future where human and AI will collaborate, where the AI and the machines will use their computational power to do mathematically intensive aspects of the work, and we will be able to utilize what our brains are made for creativity, thinking, making decisions, for making the society better. That's the hopeful part of me. So that's how I think about how AI will be, right? So will AI? Yes. Yeah. So yeah, so that's how I think about it. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I often wonder, right, because it's like it has now reached a stage and now everyone is talking about it. But I think with the field as ever evolving as AI, you need to be a little bit ahead of the curve. So looking at job opportunities, it's like the moment you begin to apply, that market is already saturated, right? Like right now, everyone is talking about product management, but I'm in my first year, and I feel that by the time I reach my graduation year, there is a high chance that this field gets saturated. But what does not get saturated is your core competencies that are in demand. So, and you just recently said that you don't have to be a data scientist or coming from a mathematical background. That's a relief for me because I'm not from there. So, how then, what kind of hard skills, I'm not talking about soft skills like creativity, etc., gets in that, but what kind of hard skills that are sort of evergreen should you have or develop through the course? I'm in digital social media, by the way, to actually get jobs that are lucrative.
Yeah. No. Great question. And you are right. So first part is jobs keep on getting evolved and market keeps on getting saturated in some way, and so product management has changed a lot. Maybe I'll start answering question but one by one. So and because I teach product management, I'll say product management, when I got into product management at that time, there was very few, right? And there were jobs that were learned on your own. But now there are schools, now there are enough materials available for you to be able to learn. But what happens in reality is the people have learned or people know, so they apply a lot. But what will keep you ahead is if you truly understand what it means to be a product manager. And if you think from product management perspective alone, just coming to that part of the question alone, you should understand how to solve customer problems, how to think from a customer perspective, how to conduct primary and secondary research, how to build hypothesis, how to interact with people and give them requirement in a bite-sized pieces, how to take risks. And these are mixture of hard and soft skills. In product management role particularly, the communication is super important. Interpersonal communication is super important. Apart from ability to understand the tech and future trends, and ability to understand your customer needs and interacting with market and users, right? So learning those skills will really help, and understanding the process of those today or tomorrow is going to make you evergreen. If you understand the fundamentals and the process, you will be always ahead of the curve. Even today's world, I interview product managers who are very, very experienced and they don't know the process, and it's surprising, right? And then you have to find people who actually understand the process instead of just a buzzwords, right? So even though whenever you think the job market is saturated, think again. Job market might be saturated with number of people there, but it is never saturated for people who truly understand the field and can differentiate and then can showcase, right? So that's one. It becomes competitive. You have to work harder to get it, but once you are there, you can make a mark. The second part of the question was, hey, how do I think from the same for the AI world, right? 2 years from now, in terms of AI, I think the market is going to remain for a very long time. Uh, it is still just developing. It's just getting started. This industry is just getting started, um, and it was a very like a lucrative field even 6 7 years before, 8 years before, when people started understanding what it could do, but that was hidden in the departments in the companies. Not regular people were not talking about it, but today everyone, households are talking about it. That's why we know. So this market is going to keep on evolving, and we will talk about some fundamental skill that are going to help you uh, keep up with that market. And one of those is, from the AI side, is understanding fundamentally how these things are built. That is not going to change. I have not seen that changing, right? Even in the evolution of all this, because I have seen how the foundations work, it makes a lot of sense to me because the foundational thinking process has not changed. What it could do has changed because the underlying inventions are cutting edge, are transformational. But ultimately, the foundational thinking has not changed. So you have to work and understand those foundational frameworks and those thinking, and that will really differentiate you in the market tomorrow, and it will keep you sustained or sustainable in those hard times when the market is looking for people, and there are less, more competition, less jobs. But because you understand those basics, those fundamentals, you will always be ahead of those who don't, who have only understood at a surface level. Okay, so that's my first advice to that. uh, and from the hard skill perspective, understanding how these products are built, the processes of it, how AI products are created, that will really really help you, right? Because any role, any job you do go for, if you know those, you will excel in those roles, those jobs, in a much better fashion, right? um, okay, great. Any other questions?
So how would you? So there's like this thing called the Earth, right? And it's a lot of people feel like it's at the end of being savable. If someone is a student right now and they do care about the environment, and they know 65% of electricity is generated by burning carbon or carbon-based sources, how would you kind of rectify like market growth and career opportunities, and then that reality of what the computational requirements are to make this happen?
Yeah, I know. This is a tough question, and I don't know if I'm totally qualified to answer this one. I know there is just a push by Google to get a nuclear power plant to feed the hungry GPUs, we call them, and then they will definitely have those environmental impacts. People will have to keep on looking at those, right? And I don't know if the AI is the way to solve a AI problem. A lot of problems are solved by AI. The problems AI is created, I'm hopeful people are looking at it, are thinking about it. They are not just in the arms race of building the next cool stuff, and that won't be good for humanity. And I know there are a lot of people, even Jeffrey Hinton, he left his job so that he can do better for the humanity. He wants to work in that field because he can see 20, 30 years ahead of the world, and he's saying they're dangers, definitely. They're definitely dangers. Um, and that should be solved. I don't know if I have the answer for it. I just know those should be something that should be on top of mind of people.
Have a comment on this topic, not necessarily just on energy. So on energy, I know the big companies, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, BlackRock, they actually They have nuclear plans to try to solve this problem. But in the meantime, I recently just read two research paper about how AI. One is about how AI is helping to reduce conspiracy theory in general, the mass population. So the more people use AI, the more they don't believe in conspiracy theory, and it's a blanket of conspiracy theory. It's not just, hey, 911 is, controlled by the government. It's the blanket of all the things that happen in the world. And another thing is because a lot of companies are building data centers in all around the world, even in Africa, a lot of places there are wars and conflicts. It actually help push these countries to talk more to each other because of the building of the data center, and it helps soften the relations a little bit among these countries. Sorry, it's a little bit sidetracked, but since we're on the social topic.
No, great plug. Thank you for uh, giving your thoughts. No, that's very interesting. And to your point, and people, like, there is a lot of fake news created by AI, but hopefully the AI systems will become really good so that they can also detect it's a fake news, right? So AI will solve AI is kind of a place we are probably going. Uh, for example, there are hackers who try to hack the system, but your security has to become stronger so that so the same hackers, when they come to the company in the security side, they become really good at securing the enterprise. So ultimately, that tension will probably always remain, and probably for the ultimately the good side will win. Is you always hope, right? And that has happened in the society so far. So again, I'm on the optimistic side. I really want to debate with someone who's on the other side so I can open my perspectives. But on the optimistic side, I really think that, and it will solve it. We just need enough people to be pessimistic about it too. We need enough people to be on the other side of the equation that will work on the other side. So both jobs are very, very important, right? Both perspectives are very, very important. Okay, I'll keep on going. So um, now we talked about this, and this is Andrew Ng's comment to it. Very pithy, very simple. Hey, listen, if you're worried about AI, people who will use AI will replace people. It's not AI will replace people and people's job. It's people who learn AI and how to use it will replace people who don't use it. And as a student, it can be very scary for a lot of people, but you all are so fortunate that you are in the educational environment and you're sitting at USC, where the researchers from USC created the revolution. The attention is all you need. That created the inflection point. You're sitting at the place where you can learn, and you have opportunity to get into the field and become leaders of it, leaders of this field. And I do believe communication is a very, very strong, has a very, very strong future in AI field, because people who can communicate are the one who understand and communicate are the one who are going to thrive, because lot of those aspects that AI can't do is what people in the communication field can do, right? So very, very bright future for people, and something you should keep in mind as you go along. Okay, now let's get into a little some technicalities. Yes.
Just a quick question about learning AI. So because we have so many applications and tools out there, we what's your suggestions about what resource we look into in terms of finding the best applications in each category vertical? I mean, there could be a couple, but we can't be learning all of them. So for example, people are saying Midjourneys is the best to create images, and Perplexity is the best to do research. And what's your opinion about suggestion about where we should go find the, even like a reveal platform about which applications we should focus more energy on learning so we don't be left behind at this point?
Yeah, great question. And I'll say couple of things. So before, and this is what I'll give advice on to everyone. This is going to be a little different than how people think about tools. before learning those tools and how to use them, I'll encourage everyone to understand how they're built at a foundational level. And they are not rocket science. They are not that difficult to learn, especially in today's world where you can query ChatGPT and ask, how do you work? Tell me like I'm a communication student in undergraduate program, it will tell you how it works. Tell how DALI works, tell how Midjourney works, and DALI and Midjourney both are image creation tool, they work very differently under the hood. Understanding those is helpful, is very important, especially as we grow our careers there, so that new tools will keep on evolving. But once you understand those fundamental frameworks, it will become very intuitive to you. Developing that intuition is most important right now. Developing and learning those tools is, but developing that intuition of how things are created so it's not natural to you, it's not scary to you, you have already anticipated it's coming, it's very important. That's where you have to look at under the hood a little bit in each of them, right? That's my first part. Now coming to the tool aspect, learning those tools is very important as well. And the way I think about it is, I just and then you can think in a very let me first answer that question about whether you should do Perplexity or Midjourney or DALI or ChatGPT or Anthropic. What I do is, honestly, I just, when they started coming out, I was trying all of them, and then for different people, different set of tools will evolve that will be useful to them for their own use cases. Like the presentation I showed you, that kind of simple presentation, ChatGPT can't create it. It will give me a lot of content, but it won't create that kind of PPT. I wanted someone who has like a layer of an app on top of it a little bit, right? So I started using Cloudy, right? You should try, and some things can be. My wife, she uses. You'll be surprised. She uses Google's Gemini much more than ChatGPT because it's better at coding. She's trying to learn how to code, and that gives a better bug-free suggestions. So it will ultimately there can be rubric somewhere that people will create. You'll have to fish around, but in today's world, because it's so exploratory, you should try and see what works for you through experience, and then you will have opinion, and things will keep on evolving. And then you'll create a set of tools for you. Hey, for communication and marketing, I use these, and I have pockets of these tools, and I use multiple tools, and I go back and forth, and that's okay. You use Word Doc and you use Google Doc too, that's okay. And use Apple Keynote, that's okay too, right? You can use multiple tools. I use I still use my iPhone's Note app, and I use Microsoft Note app and Google Keep, and that's okay. And hopefully they will all sync with each other. And that's what how the word is going to evolve. Now, I think there's actually a third aspect to it also. There's a first aspect, foundation. Second is the tools that are in the market. The third is it will be useful, especially as you start working in the companies, to develop specialization in the sense that you know foundation so that you can develop specialization very quickly in different one too. But once you start working, understand that specific company tool. Let's say you start working for Google and you are a product manager for Gemini. You understand how Gemini works so deeply that no one else can, right? Even if you get an entry level role in Google, working in Gemini, you become expert at it so that you rise up in a career very quickly. And that will really be helpful. Suppose you start working for a startup. Like I worked for a startup, and in 2017 we used to talk with people on email, and they will think they were talking to a human, and it was email. It was pretty science fiction kind of stuff at that time. But learning how those tools are built, that will be really enlightening under the hood, because at that time what you can learn under the hood is very different from how you learn from outside world. So that's the third aspect. As you go, you specialize in those, because those knowledge is usually transferable. suppose you learn how Gemini works under the hood, you can go and work in Perplexity at later stage. Suppose they really become a big company and then you want to switch. And you can bring your wisdom of how things work and improve that. And that is where your careers will grow as well as you enter the company, right? You go and start working for TikTok, then focus on understanding how that product under the hood is working from AI perspective. There's a lot of AI within TikTok too, right? Understanding those will really, really help. And then that specialization will go in other places and will be useful when you start working for Meta. It's not too different, the news feed and algorithm, and you can bring the wisdom there, right? Okay. Any more questions here? Okay, awesome. Great questions. Have them keep on coming. We'll talk a little bit about. I know we are talking from 1.5 hours now, 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay, so I'll give. I don't think we can cover everything today, but I'll give a little bit about all of this we are talking about, and the evolution of AI has been very, very interesting. It started from machine learning. Let me just show you a diagram that will be useful. It started from machine learning to modern AI models. And today a new trend of agent-based models is coming up. This is all evolution of AI as we think about it. So let me just show this first. Now, I was actually taking some things for granted just a couple of weeks back when I started chatting with the students. And I realized, and that's what the book is about. Hey, I'm learning a lot from my students. I realized the things that are very, sometimes I think intuitively, hey, Netflix has a lot of AI in it. People were questioning why Netflix has AI in it. And if you actually look at it, Netflix came a long, long time back, and they have this personalization capability, a capability where they recommend the books, recommend the videos. Amazon recommend the books, for example, but they recommend videos, the contents, the movies that you like. That at a fundamental level is AI. That's something that is built on machine learning models. It's essentially AI. That's the early stage of AI. Under the hood, they are built on a models called as regression-based models, very basic mathematical models. Think of equation y is equal to mx plus c, where you find a pattern, linear pattern between popularity and rating, and then you try to recommend those to people, right? So that's how Netflix is built. So AI was happening long time back, and success of companies like Netflix was on this personalized recommendations. Netflix was successful because one of these very, very important pillars. And there's a very interesting case study on Netflix. You should all look at it. But it was making companies successful long, long time back, right? Amazon is successful because of the recommendations they do in their website so that people can buy. It creates their buying loop, right? And that was done in 2006. So AI is there making these large companies successful from long, long time. Google search engine is essentially AI. People think AI as Chat GPT and DALI and self-driving car. Those are definitely AIs, but these are AIs as well. They're more traditional AI, we call them. And now there's an evolution of generative AI. Right? So that's the first thing to keep in mind. So they started with this machine learning, the old AI, to everything that has evolved now. And I don't think this timeline and chart is updated anymore. Things are moving so fast. I'll need some help so that people can update me for 2024 because I'll need to create 3 markers there. But see, there was a term AI was coined, and then the first winter came in. Winter means when Jeffrey Hinton was banished. Hey, this doesn't work. What is this? And then he became a godfather of AI over a period of time. in 2006, and then so the machine learning came in 2006 time frame, and then deep learning was coined. What deep learning was doing was, it was beyond just predicting like Netflix movie, it was recognizing images and pictures of people. So traditionally a task human does really well, AI could do. And then the evolution of that has come from image recognition to the most transformational aspect so far till date is understanding of language, which is the chat GPT, and those are the models. So transformers model, essentially attention is all you need, is the transformers model. That's where everything suddenly shifted to what we are seeing right now in chat GPT world. Okay, so this is the little bit of a history of AI, and then this is part two. What it means is, hey, listen, these AI capabilities are continuously evolving, and you are seeing all these models. What all this is just saying is, over a period of time, you have number of parameters that AI has. A parameter is essentially, you can, in a layman term, thinks of the size of the model, how big the model is, how big the brain is. That is going up to 1 trillion parameters. That's actually a lot of parameters. Parameters is how many neurons you have, essentially the weights you have. We don't have to go into technical details, but imagine how big the brain is, and the bigger the brain, the better the model. The problem with bigger brain is you need more computational power. The cost is very expensive, millions and billions of dollars for investments. That's why Nvidia suddenly has shares have skyrocketed, because they are the only one that provide the GPUs, and all that. And if you are reading the news, Intel, that used to be the behemoth of computing, is suddenly laying off 10,000 people because they were not able to catch up with the AI wave. But that's essentially what this is showing, is how much of intensity is there. And in 24 you will see even more crowded space. People are experimenting, innovating, and learning in this area. And just a plug, and I talk about this in my book a little bit too. Hey, the reason Gen AI is different is the traditional AI was about creating the predicting, hey, what will happen, what to recommend, whether it is a fraud or not. Those kind of things traditional machine learning was doing. Generative AI is about creation. That's why it is transforming things so rapidly. So creation is one part, and the language is another. Another sweet spot is the fundamental fabric of innovation, I believe, in humans is language. Language is how we interact, how we talk, how we communicate, how we think. Even when you are actually thinking, you're thinking in some language. When you're talking to someone and communicating idea, that's in language. And that's the fundamental piece AI is starting to crack. And that is why you're seeing such an inflection point in AI right now. Okay, so now if you go a little further, I want to show you this video. Let's see if I can show it to you. This is actually a very, very interesting one. But okay, let me show you this video 1 second. I'll show this and then I'll show you that video so that we can talk about some foundation. So as I was mentioning, AI is this like overarching field. Machine learning is inside it, and deep learning is inside it. You can think in that way. And what it essentially means is, hey, listen, there's a overarching field of AI, and then deep learning is coming inside it. And deep learning is imagine how you understand the images and recognize them, and how to understand the language and understand what is being said. And ultimately, they are all mathematical models. That's all it is. Ultimately, they are all mathematical equations, right? And they're self-learning loops. But think of this in this way. These are aspects. Computer vision is how do you understand images, and large language model is how you understand the language, right? There used to be, there's still a field called as natural language processing, how you process the language and things like those. So this is at a foundational level, like a diagram that you should keep in mind of what AI is, what are different layers of it. Um, all of these are still very, very relevant. Even machine learning is still very relevant, even though we have deep learning right now. But one another intuition as you go along your journey you should have is AI is like a baby. And what I mean is AI learns on what you teach it. And there is a concept, all these models, AI models, AI capabilities that are developed are based on, essentially based on some kind of data and training data and patterns that you provide to the algorithm and system through which they can understand and mimic the behavior. So imagine there's a baby and you show a baby and tell this is a water bottle, right? So you tell this is a water bottle, and then you show tens of these water bottles of similar kind. Then over a period of time, baby knows when you show this water bottle, it's a water bottle, right? But you suddenly go and show the baby a water bottle that is more like you use like a, maybe let's say a red water bottle, red color, instead of plastic, metal water bottle, and then the baby will not be able to recognize. They will say, no, this is not a water bottle, right? So then you tell the baby, no, this is also a water bottle, and then baby will learn, oh, that's also a water bottle. And that is why, and then you start showing them lot and lot of water bottles. So over a period of time, they understand what a water bottle looks like. And when you show this hand sanitizer, they might think this is a water bottle. And then you tell them, no, this is not a water bottle, this is a hand sanitizer. And then baby will learn this is what a difference between water bottle and hand sanitizer is. And this is not a water bottle. So these are, and they understand the features of a water bottle and the shape of a water bottle and the purpose of water bottle behind the scenes. And that's essentially how AI works. AI is like a baby. You give them lot and lot of data, and then they understand what something is, and they start recognizing it over a period of time. Yes.
So I was at this event at Viterbi on Wednesday. It was called the ARC Prize. I don't know if you heard of the ARC, AGI benchmark. It's developed by this Google researcher called Francois Collet. He was arguing the same thing like you just did. Like we have to fit in so much data, and we have to give the AI examples for it to solve problems that it has seen before. Like it needs practices over and over again. And he was developing this private database that supposedly is evaluating AI's ability to generalize, to solve novel problems, not problems it has seen before. And I think like it is a process that is going to take, I don't know how long. I want to know your opinion on it. And I also want to know if companies are doing it privately now, and it's not open source because they're seeing the monetary potential of a true AGI. So my concern is that, you know, AI is like a baby, but at one point it's gonna be like a full-grown human being. And if that's the case, I want to see your vision and your wisdom on that.
I think it's a great question, and maybe AI is like a baby, and it is growing up very fast. To be fair, even like the models like unsupervised learning and what there's a concept called as transfer learning. What he's talking about is more like a concept called as transfer learning, where they are AI is able to move from one context to another, and is able to apply the learning of what they learn in one context to the other context, and over a period of time they become really good at it, like humans are, and therefore they are able to from bottle to, when they move from bottle to, let's say, a chair, that will be really interesting. They are able to understand the chair very, very quickly, right? And the that's that's going to happen ultimately. Now, whether companies will keep it private because of the monetary potential, that's happening even right now. Think of these large language models that are out there. The chat GPT is private, it's not open source, but then Meta, Facebook came in and they created the Llama model, which is very similar in like, of course the performance is different, underlying architecture is different, but the job they do is similar in the way they created an open source model. So there will be always companies that will create open source model, they will create closed source model. Hopefully there will be enough community to do both, so that we understand both aspects, and both fields will keep on rapidly evolving, right? And I have no doubt that AI is like a baby, and it will grow up to start understanding other aspects very quickly. It is happening right now. But at a foundational level, you still have to feed it lot of data. Even for the transfer learning, they need to have learned a lot for it to become a grown-up human being. But that evaluation is coming for sure. Great question. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about this so that you have some intuition. This is basics of machine learning. It's a vital subset of artificial intelligence, where model learns from data to make predictions. And now let's very quickly, because we have limited time. There's a supervised learning. Is exactly what I said. You show it the data, which is called supervised learning, and then it understand what to do with it. Supervised is essentially a teacher telling it, yes, under supervision, right? And then there's unsupervised, which is more like you don't tell this is a bottle, but you ask it to differentiate a bottle from a chair, from a hand sanitizer, and it becomes really good at pattern recognition. And then you put like labels on top of it. So that's unsupervised. It's a little bit of baby growing up also. They were not that successful earlier. They are starting to become much more successful, especially in as the computational power is going up in the large language model world and all that. And then reinforcement learning is, you tell, this works a lot in robotics world today. When they make a mistake, you correct the mistake, or you penalize them, or you tell them you're wrong, and you reinforce that loop. It's very, very interesting and evolving field right now. The reinforcement learning, lot of ethics concepts are built on reinforcement learning. When AI make unethical decision, you reinforce them. Hey, no, make ethical decision. They learn how to do that. So this field is getting a lot of traction right now from that perspective as well. And then then there's a deep learning. So deep learning, if you all remember, there was like a graph of these neurons connected together. Then when we saw that video from Jeff Hinton. So essentially that's what deep learning is. They are architectures at a foundational level. I don't want you to get intimidated with, hey, there's the architecture. There's essentially, they are mathematical functions, similar to how machine learning is. They just have a learning loop built inside that architecture. So the machine learning is looking at data and creating statistical models. This is taking data, and these have weights and biases, they call it, so that you can understand, hey, this is what it means after a lot of data is given to it, right? So they are very successful because at some level they're modeled at a brain level, right? How brain is built, how we think at some level. So I won't go into all the details here, but now what I was talking about from the intuition standpoint, developing an intuition, is people should understand how at a high level they are built. What is the difference between them? Like images, there was a when the the image recognition came in. The model that was successful was called a CNN. Now, in a layman terms, it's more like like a architecture of understanding images. The mathematical representation was different. You convert the images into essentially pixels, numbers, and then you created an architecture that will do really good job at images. Large language models are essentially mathematical models, the transformer models to understand language, and all that. So they're specialized models like those that are coming in, right? So CNN is example of it. RNN was essentially for the languages. So one side of the research community started thinking about the research and computer vision, and that was super important. Unless you have a vision, computer vision, you can't build self-driving car because you have to see what's coming ahead. You can't build these robotic systems that will be able to do the jobs in the warehouses, right? So you need computer vision for those. And language is obviously for communicating with each of us, and the audio and video. So RNN started, but RNN was not that successful. So the transformer models came in, which is the attention is all you need paper. And I was just saying, hey, listen, Trojan had some contribution to it in the sense that they did PhDs. Two of them did the PhDs from USC, and the primary author did the PhD from here, although they were part of Google Brain by that time. And the modern AI was born. So now we all know the chat GPT, and you will hear the term of something called as natural language processing, NLP, and this is developed by OpenAI and all that. We all kind of know that. So OpenAI is the company that was earlier a non-profit research company. Now they are for-profit, so things are changing, and they are becoming really large corporation right now. They were earlier a research lab, but they created this chat GPT, and suddenly everything came to the as a household name, and everyone started getting excited. They even didn't see that coming. Google was the one that had created it first, but they were very scared of putting it out in the world because of ethical consideration. So ChatGPT was the first who came out with this, and then this is a DALI, the creative image generation. ChatGPT uses DALI under the hood ultimately to build the images. Now, the difference between under the hood for ChatGPT and DALI is, hey, one is using like large language models, and then there are still using the transformer models, but the evolution of it for the image. And these are called the two kinds, GAN and the diffusion model. And if you look at it under the hood, they become very intuitive. They have been done in a very innovative way, those mathematical functions and the creativity to build those, and a lot of work and testing has gone in it to build a successful model like that. But they're actually, if you look at it under the hood, very intuitive of how you will think a human will do, right? And they're just trying to model it at a machine level. So this is a DALI example. Similarly, there's a Mid-Journey, and Llama is another one. So Facebook, similar to what ChatGPT has, ChatGPT has a model called as generative pre-trained model, the GPTs. Llama has these models too, and Llama is the company Facebook, the Meta that we know. So they created a model too. Every company is working on it. Google is working on it. Facebook is working on it. Amazon is a little bit behind in that race, but they are also now started to work on it. Microsoft supported ChatGPT, so they are working on it. All the large companies are either working on it, or other large or small companies are using it. And then there are startups that are out there right now. And I know we're kind of out of time, so I'll see. I'll just leave with this couple of notes. It doesn't matter which field you belong to. Suppose someone wants to become a UX researcher, UX designer, then AI will be the new UX, and you will have to reimagine the interface. When the mobiles came in, I like the mobile website, the mobile apps completely transformed the computational industry when iPhone came in, right? We all used to use websites on the uh, laptops or desktops, and every company had to shift to the mobile interface. And same thing is going to now happen with AI coming in. The way we are going to interact are going to be through intelligent beings, the agents. So the UX is going to evolve very, very rapidly. So if you are in the UX field, that is going to change too. If you are in thinking about business, thinking about experiences that you provide to users, you have to think of AI will be the new UX for consumers. AI will be the new UX similarly for businesses, and AI will be the new UX for social change. And lot of things that we have been used to are going to shift very, very rapidly, very, very quickly. How we are used to interacting with applications and experiences that we are totally used to today are going to immediately get infused with AI in short term and going to be transformed through AI in a long term. So that's kind of a shift we are going to see. And and I don't know if I want to go through all of this, but I think we talked about that, career opportunities and all. I'll just leave with the note that hey, um, uh, ultimately AI will have a lot of potential, and we can think really, really big. Use the potential that AI gives us, the time it saves. Whatever that number was, 7 trillion, 80 billion number. Use that to create a better health care. Use that to create improved financial access. Improve that for space exploration, because that's what humans are made for. Do the creative things. We have to go to the next frontier. So that's where I will end, and thank you for joining. Any questions? I'm still here for a little bit.
Thank you for the lecture. It was really inspiring and interesting for me. I have a question according to the AI career. For example, if I'm a student who's interested in marketing, in AI, and maybe in global in tech, how do you think what should be my first steps to get that kind of skills and understanding of the industry itself?
Yeah. So, as a student of marketing, I think there are a few things you should think about. First is, I think because things are evolving so rapidly, you should first think of how is marketing done today, and then think about how will marketing be done tomorrow. And if you will ask with industry professional, they also won't have all the answers, and you can imagine and chart your career in that direction a little bit if you start to imagine how the marketing could be done. Some of it will be by being more efficient with the tools that we have, and that's more obvious answer, right? Hey, instead of when we are writing a marketing copy as a marketing manager, when we are doing the market analysis as a marketing manager, the data analysis, now I can use those tools to do those are a little more obvious. But think of some little non-obvious patterns as well, how things will evolve from the marketing perspective. And what it means is, how will customer communication and interaction evolve? Will I have to do the marketing where I have to talk to users, or I have to focus my teams? I have to focus myself so that I acquire AI solutions, I work on AI solutions, I train AI solutions that they will interact with customers at scale. And my job is to still to end goals will still remain same, to reach to the maximum potential audience as a AI marketer. But then understanding how the landscape is going to shift is going to really make a difference. There are a lot of companies even today that, for example, are using AI for marketing, better marketing. And if you understand that like a landscape a little bit, hey, to communicate to customers and reach out, I don't have to have humans talking to them. I can train AI, and then humans can tweak the AI for the brand and the language. And so I have to understand those tool sets that are leveraged for marketing of AI. That will really help you. Apart from being very good at how to leverage it on a day-to-day basis, and understanding frameworks and fundamentals, and understanding the evolution of it. More questions? Any other questions? Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.